Welcome to CATtheMinion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. I'm doing card of the day. I'm using the Ciro Marchetti Legacy deck. I'm going to go ahead and get a card here. Now I cleared and shuffled them. Oh, that one flipped over. Oh, okay. I feel like I want to put them back in and go again, but I guess I'll just read what's here. So I've got a pair of cards here. Okay. We're in Gemini right now, and there's a lot of Gemini energy going around. There's a lot of stuff about duality and balancing of masculine and feminine energy. So I'm assuming that for the next while here, there's going to be a lot of pairs of cards instead of singles. Now, I was in the middle of my sentence just there, and I heard that I need to say that Mercury ruling Gemini... Let me double check. I said this to somebody last night, and I don't want to be... Yeah, also rules Virgo, so there's going to be some grounding going on. Grounding in the communication and the energy and the interaction with other people. Some people it's going to be, you know, connecting to the earth. Other people it's going to be like Rumpelstiltskin stomping their foot through the goddamn floor. And just like that, I have Page of Coins. That's that grounding, that's that earth energy. Kind of new to some people. There's a girl here. She's got a big old coin that she's trying to deliver. I should know this by now. What is it? Okay. So it is spring energy, at least I got that part right, and it's earth of earth. So it's really really gritty, like a film noir. Queen of Wands inverted. I just heard tensions are high. So I'm getting the idea of complete lack of creativity. I'm going to hold her upright for a second. This is the card that made me want to buy this deck. She doesn't look that great on my webcam, because my webcam is craptastic, but powerful. Okay. It's her. Very stylish hairdo. So a queen could be a 1 or a 13, so it's like having a death card in reverse related to fiery feminine energy, or to distorted feminine energy within the fire centers of, like, generally the solar plexus, or the ones below it, you know what I mean. Red, orange, and yellow. Queen of Wands. Pisces and Aries with water of fire. Now, usually the Queen, especially the Cups and... Well, I want to say especially. The Queens are usually, like, psychic and intuitive. And here we see Pisces, which rules the moon. And the moon rules the High Priestess. Now, usually when I'm talking about lower vibes of the High Priestess, I'm talking about... I'm getting, like, a lot of stuff while I'm talking. That's unusual. Getting those downloads. Usually talk about the High Priestess as being involved with swords. Okay, where was I going? Okay. This is a distorted energy that wants to be the Emperor. That's why first of all, it's inverted. And it's extremely fiery. Right, Aries? So it's partly Pisces, partly Aries. It's not necessarily the idea of being psychic. It's like trying to force the world to be the way you envision it. In a very Dictatorial kind of way. Now, Aries does rule the Emperor. And I see this, even though it's a feminine card, I do see it as being like the Emperor in reverse more than anything else. But it's also got that vibe of I'm struggling to describe why there's feminine energy here. The page is usually depicted as a young man, but in alternate decks it's called the princess. And in this particular deck, the other 3 pages are drawn as boys, and this one is described in the manual as being a girl. Now, the way I see this, it's like trying to ground feminine energy, because it's almost like, oh, okay. The Emperor's inner feminine is extremely distorted, but the issue is that the exterior generic masculine energy is also distorted. So you go walking around with your head up your ass, then all of your energies are going to be upside down as well. And plexiglass belly button so you can see where the hell you're going. But the duality polarity of that it's like being shredded apart in a black hole, this feminine energy. But the opposite of the spectrum, the duality, is this, instead of this sort of like advanced decay, is like a new start, just coming out with this feminine energy being grounded. And a page can be a 1 or 11. So it's this idea of 11 is usually like a twin flame number, but here we're just talking about duality, so it's a duality number. But it also has to do with timing in the universe. And it's like saying that this duality is so far distorted and stretched that the time-space continuum is like, it's like it's ripping apart in a certain way. The universe is demanding a shift. It's demanding a healing and relaxing of the distortion. It's like when you twist something, so like if you twist your arm far enough, it'll break. And here, it's like almost to the breaking point. And for some, okay, so and then the image that I'm getting, if this was actually all the way at the breaking point, this would be the Queen of Swords inverted. But it's like our gut is telling us something is wrong. And we see that playing out in the physical world right now. Let's see what's on the bottom of the deck. The 7 of Swords. The Moon in Aquarius. Interesting. Okay. Now, here, the Moon in Aquarius, the definition of the card follows the planetary astrological alignment. It's the Moon in Aquarius is like the secret and nightmarish and dark side of communication, innovation, and ideas. And because we're in the air element as well, we have the extra focus on perception and stuff. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is a very unusual planet. It's very, you know, it's fun to make fun of it, but the planet there, Uranus is tilted sideways. It's unique among the planets. It's twins with Neptune, which I believe rules Pisces. Yeah. So we have this duality Pisces energy that's coming out of here. And then we have the twin of this being what's driving. It's like the twin of this is what's sending out the signal in this card. But because the moon is there in its darker phase, it's distorting the signal. And the end result of this card is being sneaky or devious or lying or stealing or any other kind of, I just heard espionage. But it doesn't have to be like full scale, like James Bond / Archer kind of stuff. It can be, you know, snooping on somebody's phone. It can be blackmailing somebody or stuff like that. Now, in the Seven of Swords card, the person that's usually stealing something is usually also missing or dropping something, right? He's come into, you can't see it that well in this card, but the guy's come into this window, he's ninja'd his way in, he's stolen 5 swords, but he either missed or couldn't carry these other 2 over here. And again, those 2 represent the duality. 7, we have the 5 over here. That's a conflict, aggression, but it's also a pivot, a shift, a change, an ignition in a different direction. It's the beginning of a vector. And these 2 over here is, again, it's that duality. There's 2 things. There's 2 fishes in Pisces. There's a pair of twins in Gemini. And if you're in a love relationship, there's 2 people. But it's not really what I'm talking about right now. 7 is also the number of the chariot. In the highest vibration, it's intuition and vector give you movement, right? It's, oh, I know where I'm going. I have the inertia, and the 7 with those numbers combined is like, meow, putting your foot on the gas. So this card is distortion, but we're still talking about a duality. Now, if this is a 13, then that's 4. 7 and 4, and if that's 1, that gives 12 total, which is the Hanged Man. And then that would also be 11 and 11. Or 8 swords, which would be I want to break free. Nine and 1 is 10 is a completion. 9 and 4 is 13, which is death again. So the idea is that whatever this distorted cycle is, the shift is that this distortion is starting to negatively affect whoever is trying to bend the world around them to their will. And they're going to end up taking it in the ass and being stuck in their own prison. Because the universe ultimately wants this. The human collective wants this. The human collective right now doesn't have a place for feminine energy to grow into her own, because they're so caught up on a distorted masculine energy that's out to get whatever it can get. And that's not against people who are masculine, it's to say that society has trained masculine energy to only understand this mode, which is why the masculine energy is completely disconnected from any inner feminine energy that it might have. There's no nurturing, there's no peaceful inner child. This doesn't have to be a girl, but it just happens to be in this deck. So I can tell that. And then we see this one as well. There's a huge distortion in feminine energy. But again, it's the background is being driven by these masculine forces of swords and fire and the emperor. 3 minus 2 is 5. I don't want to keep going on this reading. I know I did look at the card behind the 7 of Swords, but I don't want to bring that out in the reading right now. So let me go to the middle of the deck and see what this is. The 4 of Swords. So that is the sleep and recovery after battle. It's being in a coma after a car crash. 13 together is 4. Now, if I was saying it's strictly to do with communication, I would have said yes, it's the 4 of Swords. This is like resurrection after death. Again, it's like being in a coma. It's meditation and reflection on this battle that's been fought. It's the day after death. It's taking a load off and sort of centering, like before going to a funeral and so on. Now, if I was dealing with the 4 energy in this wand suit, you can very clearly see that there's an issue with the foundation, right? What happens if you build in sand on a fault line? Your building is going to crumble eventually. You know, you can't lay the foundation of your identity as half of the energy in the universe in the Ring of Fire. You will get burnt at some point. And like I said, even though these are feminine cards on the surface, what's driving them is actually masculine energy. Now, when I pulled the 7 of Swords off the bottom, the Knight of Coins is behind. That's the 12. It should be the Hangman. Here it is coming in slow, but even this card, there's conflict on it. Those horses are fighting. Those are the horses from the Chariot. And we see that they're not balanced at all. There's a huge distortion there. And we see that the masculine energy that's driving is hiding in a mask. Is so intensely hidden and ungrounded that there's not even a face in the mask. Is to say that the distorted masculine energy has disintegrated the divinity so far that the only thing that's there is this distorted mask, right? It's like a mecha that has a person in it who's trapped. I don't know, what's that? Was it Spider-Man that had that weird thing that was black that like crawled all over him? I didn't see those movies. Or was it a different character that had like the thing with the black and the silver eye with the tongue? But it's like it's kind of like that. Or like having an Edgar suit. But in essence, it's like somebody who is so who's been bound and confined and imprisoned by the mask, as the mask becomes sentient and takes over their entire like presence, like some kind of AI virus or something like that. But it's all about energy. It's like a poltergeist is created by energy distortions within a person, by emotional disturbances. And the energy that's going on here in terms of masculine energy over thousands of years is that the initial distortion is like a paper mask that somebody stapled to their face, as a means of overcoming a fear about something. Probably natural disaster, if you go back far enough. Fear of lack of resources, fear of not being able to propagate your DNA, stuff like that. And over time, the mask became more elaborate. You know, like a gold mask or a jade mask. But what happens in the end is it takes over the entire person, the entire masculine energy, identity over thousands of years. So in the movie The Mask, with Jim Carrey, he puts on the mask and he turns into this, you know, hyper clown. The bad guy puts on the mask, he turns in like beefier and meaner and you know, like more evil. And in that way, like this like mask energy that's created through this emotional upheaval becomes its own entity, where it decides that it's going to make extreme any nature that people might have. If they come in and they're afraid and they want to bully others to, you know, for material gain or just to feel tough, then this distorted masculine energy amplifies that until it's utter chaos. Or if it's, you know, someone's fearful in a different way, it turns them from shy into like extremely hyper and slightly dangerous. And I'm hoping that that makes sense. I know these are getting really long, but that's what's going on with the distortion. And this, in this card, it's twisting the arm of the feminine energy into into like something that's underground, right? 13 inverted, that's in the underworld. Suppressed, but also distorted in a way that's making it's like making a similar mask, but in a way that's trying to imitate being powerful, right? So distorted feminine becomes angry as well, or becomes hypersexual in order to gain some control, to have one up over this distorted masculine energy, and then it just becomes an arm race. I was gonna say an arms race, but an arm race, who's twisting who? Right? But the ultimate end result, after whatever is happening in the world right now, is grounded springtime energy. Now, if Aries was in a non-distorted energy, that would also be springtime. It would be like a fuel for growth. It's like, here's the blueprint of the DNA. And the feminine energy is like, ah, DNA. And then the DNA is like, oh, we're receptive, let's go. Like, everybody out, no waiting. And then the leaves are like, phoom. So those are the energies in divinity. but right now they're still in distortion, and this is what we're seeing. Okay, so if you want to get a reading, you can hit me up at thecatcamebackatcamp@gmail.com. If you want to hit that tip jar, donate, energy exchange, that's paypal.me/CATtheMinion. I also have Cash App and Venmo. If you want to see a complete list of readings and how much they cost, you can check out the description box of my infomercial video, or just email me. That same info place has links for actual art items, prints, merch, coloring books, and a couple other things. Alright, so we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you later. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take it easy now. Bye.